I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. So I am now correcting my oversight in that I didn't read the Psalms. These last two Psalms, Psalm 137 and 147, they are supposed to be read back in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah. Now remember, for our context here, that the Jews have been in captivity in Babylon for 70 years. Daniel is a magistrate in the Babylonian government. Ezekiel is a prophet in Babylon. He is not in the government. He is living among the people, primarily along the river. Jeremiah is long dead. And Persia has just conquered Babylon. They came in sweeping area. And shortly after the Persian conquest, the king of Persia, Cyrus the Great, issues his first order allowing any Jews who want to return to Jerusalem are not only allowed to return, but are given supplies and goods to rebuild the temple. And it's a great time of rejoicing. This is probably, I think it's like 20 years before Ezra himself. As in the book of Ezra, but like the first 6 chapters of the book of Ezra are the first return. Then about 12 to 20 years after that, Ezra comes out himself. That's the second return. And then there's a third return with Nehemiah, who comes just shortly after Ezra. They're separated by like 5 years, I think. Something like that. I can't remember the full details, but this is going to be during that first return. They're coming back. They're going to try to start rebuilding the temple, although the Samaritans and other people around are hindering the work. But it's at this return, even before they start building the temple. We're reading this as they are marching back. It may have been written sometime after they actually got back to Jerusalem, so it probably actually was written in Jerusalem. But it is about that return as they come back, as they were coming back. So this will be Psalm 137. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, Raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. So it seems my timing is a little bit off. This is most likely written shortly before the return from captivity. Now, the prayer there to deal with Edom, to remember Edom and their cursing of Israel and everything, that seems to be referring back to Ezekiel, as it says in the footnotes here. And so this is likely written either might be before that, which is that Ezekiel is prophesying kind of God's answer to this prayer, or this is written after it, and the psalmist is making reference to that. I'm not quite sure, but this is most likely written before the return from Babylon. So I mean, it has that pitifulness to it. How can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? They wanted us to sing. They wanted us to be merry. They wanted us to be happy in the land that they brought us to. They dragged us out of our homes, dragged us down to Babylon, and they wanted us to be happy. But how can we be happy when Jerusalem is ruined? It's actually a very similar sentiment to Nehemiah. When Nehemiah, just before he's sent back, he's the cupbearer of the king, and the king asks him, you're looking especially sad today. Why are you sad? He says, well, I just got the news that Jerusalem is being overrun by its enemies, it's being destroyed. And how can I be happy when my homeland is in such turmoil? And it's the same kind of thing. So it could have been written after the initial return, But sometime between that initial return and Nehemiah, when the enemies of Israel were still vexing the people and preventing them from rebuilding the city. But it's just a generally pitiful lament. It's just, there's not much else to say about it, although there is that kind of hopeful looking to God, and also, they do ask for retribution on Babylon, and God does send it. So this is most likely not written, actually that is true, that reference, when they're asking for the destruction of Babylon, almost certainly this was written before the return, because it was almost certainly written before Persia conquered Babylon. Because if it had been written after Persia conquered Babylon, they wouldn't be praying for the destruction of Babylon, because it would have already happened. So yeah, my timing was off to a certain extent. This is probably written sometime before the Persian conquest. But that's about all to say about it, really. I do say there is one very minor Joseph Smith translation. Nothing of any real substance, but we do have this in verse 5. In the King James, it's, let my right hand forget her cunning. And in the Joseph Smith translation, it's, let my right hand forget its cunning. So, fixes the grammatical usage of pronouns there. But other than that, it's not all that significant. So we'll leave that here, and we will look at Psalm 147 in the next video before returning back to the Doctrine and Covenants. So I will see you there.